Here's like the straight up truth, okay? I'll just be harsh to anyone watching and this person. You can play shit like Huskar, man. I really don't care. Like, but the thing is, so many like good concepts that I can teach you, they just don't apply because this hero doesn't belong in the role you're playing it. So there's so many things I can't teach you. There's so many things you're gimping yourself on. If you were to ever somehow make it to like 4K, 5K, you'll just have to like relearn the offlane. You'll have wasted like, you know, however many games of offlane Huskar you've been picking. It just doesn't work, right? So it just depends on why you're playing Dota. You know, this person donated in order to get a replay analysis. I assume that means you want to get better. If that's your priority in Dota is to get better, then you should just stop this shit.
Banana slam jam.
Hello everyone, we're back with another replay analysis. This is looking like a low 1K Guardian 5 Huskar. That is what we're going with. So right now, Huskar, I would say not really a meta hero. But, to be honest with you, at the lowest MMRs, you can honestly pick whatever the fuck you want. As long as you play it optimally, you should be able to win. More often than not. So, Huskar, ideally, obviously, you get pooled tangos, but you didn't. I would say every mid hero should go at least one branch. Taking time away from the lane's a pretty big deal in the mid lane. This is an offlane Huskar. Well, still a good tidbit, but irrelevant. You are against either a Shadow Demon Terrorblade or a Doom Terrorblade, is what I'm seeing here. When I see a hero like Huskar, we're going to be honest with you. This hero doesn't belong in the offlane. I don't really know the best approach to this. I know this wasn't like a troll submission. I know this person's serious. I'll just give you a basic concept here. Huskar is really good against one hero because all of his damage is single target. It requires him to take damage to deal damage, and he hits the one target with his autos, right? In the lower brackets, that may not be a big deal because the punishment for that is that you have to get hit by two people at once. Like, that's the punishment for the weakness that I'm talking about. So, like, in my bracket, if you pick Huskar offlane, if you try to hit anybody, they're both just going to hit you. And you have 290 move speed, so you can't really, like, kite very well. And you have 1 base armor. So, and you only have 55 base damage with 11 damage worth of items. So, you know, you're sitting at 44 base damage, 1 armor, 290 move speed. Like, you're just not an offlaner. But, for the sake of this replay, we're going to take it seriously, because I'm sure this is the kind of shit you guys see in your games all the time, and we'll talk about it.
30 seconds to battle.
I would say not having a salve is very ballsy. I would say you have no backup plan. You kind of just said, hey, I'm going to be super aggressive at the rune. If there happen to be 3 heroes here, you know, fuck me. It's not usually a good mentality to have, but also something, you know, at 1K, it's hard to worry about that kind of stuff. Okay. Good start. I can see why Huskar looks good in this bracket. So I'll just ask you, do you want this lane in your tower? Do you want this lane to be underneath your tower? The answer is no. And the lane right now, it's pushing into your tower. Is the lane in a spot that you like it? Yes. Is the lane in a spot that you want it to keep pushing into you? No. So your auto attacks and behavior in lane should show that, right? They should show that you're not trying to pull this wave into your tower, and that you are trying to keep it exactly right here. Which, since it's pushing into you, you'd be auto-attacking enemy creeps. Whether or not you want to kill a range or a melee, whatever. But you would not be denying more. Now the lane's into your tower with a triple wave. You're CSing under tower on Huskar. Seems like you're nailing it so far, though. But now the lane's going to push back. And this is why we didn't want it underneath our tower. So the enemy team pulled large. Your support should have contested that, but they didn't. Don't expect that in the 1K bracket for sure. Okay, meta's on cooldown. Should be a good time to be aggressive. I think you're posturing too defensively. I think your ogre is being aggressive, and you could be stepping up and at least threatening to be aggressive. Now you're doing it. Okay. More so, it's not because you're guaranteed to be able to do something, but they just can't do anything to you because they have no meta and they're 5 positions of doom. So, okay. Looks like you are A-clicking the opponent. That's bad. You shouldn't be drawing creep aggro. Your W does not draw creep aggro. So you should be walking past and not drawing aggro. The situation where you should watch my Kezu video on holding people hostage and you should drag the creeps to your range. On YouTube. Best case scenario is he just doesn't contest the range. Or, I mean, worst case, honestly.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Got ganked by a hasted Viper. Sometimes shit like that just happens. Not too worried about it. Okay, looks like you're going back to pressuring the tower, being aggressive. This is good.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack. Dire's middle tower is under structures are fortified. Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Okay.
Radiant's bottom Radiant structures under attack. Fortified. Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Doing a pretty good job of forcing reactions.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Mine.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Unfortunate.
Dire's
Toggled it
middle
off when the
tower
ult
is
went
under
off.
attack.
Please don't take the tome. You know what? If your teammates aren't taking it, fuck it. It's 11.5 minutes in. Go ahead. This is like a pretty common trend that I see, and honestly, any bracket 5K or below. You guys understand, like, hey, I'm this Huskar hero, I'm supposed to be aggressive. I actually did a coaching session on Huskar maybe like 2 or 3 months ago. It was a while back, but you just don't know when to stop. You just don't know when to turn the aggression button off. In this case, obviously you're 1K, but so it's like, it's hard to always think about these things, but you should start thinking like, earlier, why was my aggression working? And the simple answer is Doom's level 5. So before level 6, that hero doesn't do shit. And if he walks up, you kill him, which is great. That's what you did. But now this hero is level 6, and you repeat, and then you just feed. You're level 10, and you just fed to 2 level 6 supports. That is like game-losing shit. That is really bad. Needless to say, you have to, it's not something you have to understand perfectly, but you do have to think about why your aggression is working. Like, why was I successful prior, and when will that change? The way I like to think about Dota is if I'm weak and I'm behind, what will it take for me to be strong enough to do something? Will it take an ally? Will it take an item? Will it take a level? Play accordingly until that happens. When I'm strong, and I think I can be really aggressive, at what point am I worried about continuing to be aggressive? Is it 4 heroes missing? Is it a specific level on an opponent? Is it a specific item on an opponent? You know, is it a specific combination of heroes required to kill me? What is it? And in this case, you obviously didn't think a, darn tootin' bit at all. and ran in and just fed miserably. So these are the type of things that we can honestly easily avoid if we start thinking about it. Obviously, in the 1K bracket, I don't know how much you've played Dota. There's obviously a wide array of players in this bracket. Some of them have just played a shit ton of Dota, but never really tried that hard to improve. Another, group is the people that have only played a couple hundred games. No matter which one you are, if you want to get better at this kind of stuff, you just have to start thinking about it. And it'll get better slowly but surely. Sometimes fast but surely, kind of depending on the individual. But yeah, this is just like so predictable, and you should just try to avoid this at all costs. And if you can't avoid it because you just don't know the matchup, whatever, then you should just be paying attention. That's the goal. Like, next time around, you'll be like, okay, next time I see a Doom that's 6, I'll be a bit, more passive. And, of course, you're bitching at your team, even though you just walked in and fed. That's a nice one. Nice little touch right there.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack. Dire's middle tower has fallen.
So we've resumed the passive play. So right now, when Doom's on cooldown, what's the threat to you, right? Who on the enemy team threatens you? I feel like it's pretty obvious, isn't it, Viper? Like, isn't that the only hero? He breaks you. He has a pretty damn good amount of damage over time that you can't armlet toggle. So with Doom on cooldown, the only hero I'm really afraid of is Viper. Okay. Mixed feelings on that one, but I don't know why you're confronting the Viper.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
So not only did you not turn your aggression off when you should, but you turned off your aggression when you should turn it back on. Like, the whole reason why your aggression didn't work was because you got doomed. And now you have to start thinking about matchups in the game, right? Like, I don't think it's that hard. Maybe I'm being insulting. I don't think it's that hard to realize that Viper's good against Huskar, right? Like, that's just probably why the guy fucking picked Viper. So, to be honest, this is like a fucking dog shit Huskar game, but this is like as bad as it gets. But that's okay. It's just you need to think about on the map like what heroes you want to be against, what heroes you kill, and right now, I'd say pretty much avoid Doom when he has Doom and avoid Viper. But instead, you're jungling. You're not looking at the fight at all. There's a huge fight going on around you. I have no idea what it is. You're pretty much playing one position off lane, which is like super toxic. Like, you should either just play carry or not pick Huskar. That's what I'm going to be honest with you about. Here's like the straight up truth, okay? I'll just be harsh to anyone watching and this person. You can play shit like Huskar, man. I really don't care. Like, but the thing is, so many like good concepts that I can teach you, they just don't apply because this hero doesn't belong in the role you're playing it. So there's so many things I can't teach you. There's so many things you're gimping yourself on. If you were to ever somehow make it to like 4K, 5K, you'll just have to like relearn the offlane. You'll have wasted like, however many games of offlane Huskar you've been picking. It just doesn't work, right? So it just depends on why you're playing Dota. This person donated in order to get a replay analysis. I assume that means you want to get better. If that's your priority in Dota is to get better, then you should just stop this shit. Like, you're playing like a one position. You're not even looking at fights. You're a fucking offlaner, man. Play like one. Or just don't pick offlane. Or play offlane hero. Like that's the simple truth. You donated $30, I assume you have Dota Plus or whatever. That gives you roll queue. Go queue rolls. Don't queue offlane. Like, I don't understand. I'll just be honest with you. I usually try not to be too harsh, but I don't understand. You're being, like, exactly the reason why I hate, like, or I believe, like, community of Dota can be really toxic. You just, like, randomly walked into two heroes, fed, proceeded to, like, mark the entire minimap, telling your team, what the fuck. Then you walk into the worst hero on the map to run into, die again. Then you proceed to AFK jungle, not even look at the fight next to you. And now you're just jungling like a one position, and guess what's going to happen when an offlaner who's supposed to be making space starts jungling like a one position? What do you think's going to happen to the rest of your team? Do you think they're going to do well? Do you think they're going to succeed? Do you think you're going to get towers? Do you think you're going to win fights? No, you're going to get fucking ran over. Like, that's what's going to happen. Maybe your team will fluke you to a victory. Like, maybe that's what will happen. But this is not how you win Dota, man. Like, this is just not how you win Dota. And usually I'm not this harsh. I know I can be sometimes harsh, but usually I'm not this like ridiculously harsh on people, but this is like a mentality that's like, I don't understand. I don't understand your mentality. Like, what are you trying to accomplish? Like, was it really worth it to you to donate $30 to see this replay analysis? Like, did you need me to tell you you're being a toxic piece of shit? Like, is that what you wanted me to tell you? But yeah, that's what I'm seeing right here.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Hey, your team happened to win the fight top. That's nice. I'd love to know what happened. Okay, there's a 4-on-4 happening top. Well, we're jungling. Okay.
Radiant's top tower is under attack. Radiant's courier has been killed. Dire's bottom tower is under attack. Radiant's top tower is under attack. Bottom tower is under attack. Dire's structures are fortified.
A few moments later.
So I want to take like an opportunity like this to talk. So I've obviously done a lot of coaching. I've made a lot of material. You know, even most notably the Airy coaching series, where I pretty much talk about Dota at like a really intricate level that newer players can attempt to understand, lower MMR players can attempt to understand, and approach the game in like a fundamentally correct way. You know, it's the same thing as a basketball coach starting you off by trying to teach you how to have the right form when you shoot a basketball, how to dribble properly, you know, what height you're supposed to dribble at, you know, all that kind of stuff. You know, good defensive posture. That's the kind of stuff I'm trying to teach. It's like these fundamental things that make this undiscernible game of Dota to like a very average new player discernible. Like, that's my goal. I'm trying to make it so you can look at a very complicated game like Dota and a lot of it starts to make sense. And it also makes it more enjoyable because the game starts to make sense. You think about these concepts at whatever level you're at, and you can progress in a way that feels tangible and win in a way that makes sense. The reason why you won makes sense. The reason why you lost makes sense too. Like, the nice thing for me nowadays is when I play, almost every game, I have a strong understanding of whether or not, or why I lost or won. Whether it was me, whether it was a teammate, whatever. Whether it was like a specific one mistake, bad item choice, all that kind of stuff. I can relate to you in some capacity when it comes to when I was like 3K, 4K-ish equivalent, meaning back before MMR existed, but I was probably in that bracket somewhere. I kind of just played my own game. You know, I'd pick whatever the fuck mid, pick it, play it like a one position, and that's about it. Like, I would just play it, lived on my own little world, played on my own little island, and I would have as much GPM as I possibly could, and that's how I played Dota. And I look back on those games and I say, yeah, I kind of had fun, but those games really didn't teach me jack shit. Like, that's just all there is to it. I look back at those games and I'm like, well, I guess I learned how to have, like, good farming patterns. But then again, like, when I became a competitive player, I had to, like, relearn all this fucking shit. I had to relearn it all. Because it just didn't matter. Like, quote-unquote, like, efficiently going from one place to another isn't good enough. Like, and it's something where if you put off, like, learning these lessons until later, it just makes it so you're eventually going to have to learn them, or you'll just hit a wall, like, really hard. You know, exactly where that wall is kind of depends on the player individual. I watched this game. If this was my first game of Dota, but I still understood Dota, if that makes sense, you'd have a hard time convincing me that you believe Dota's a team game. Like, I don't believe you think this game's a team game. Like, you play this game completely in your own little world. And if you're going to play like a 1, pick 1. If you're going to play like a 3, play 3. Or if you're going to play like a 3, pick 3. Attempt to understand Dota at a level that matters. And at the basic level, like, here's the role of the 3 in the game. Like, this is what you're supposed to do for your team. It applies at all fucking levels, man. Like, pressuring the safe lane tower, building team items that enable your other cores to carry, while also, like, making your game easier to play. You know, like, all this kind of shit. And the problem I have with this game, I know I've kind of been rambling, is that I just don't understand what to teach you from this. It's kind of like somebody coming in for a basketball coaching session and me being like, wow, your form's a bit off. Well, let's fix that. And you're like, no, let's not worry about my form. I want to learn how to score 40 points a game, bro. And it'd be like, okay, but you could use better shooting form. Like, that's what I see here. Like, you just have nothing. Like, you're skipping all the steps. I feel like you haven't watched a single video that I've made. And to be honest with you, if you don't want to do that, I am not the coach for you. Like, I'm just not the guy that's supposed to coach you.